Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. It's time for another Hawk Nest webinar. This is episode 4, joined as always by my wonderful co-host here, Gavin Kearns. Today, we're going to be talking about tailoring and integration. Really a big focus on a lot of kind of the data concerns that we see in the B2B space and how HawkSearch can help in that regard. Just kind of the knowledge that we bring to this area, which is why I am joined by Gavin. Gavin, if you want to go ahead and do a quick little introduction for yourself here, we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Gavin, VP of Sales over here at HawkSearch. As you know, our Hawk Nest webinar series are really focused around use cases that we run into a lot in the B2B space. And like Jonathan was kind of mentioning in the lead off here, one of the most common discussions that we have is data integration. As we know, especially in the B2B space, we're often looking at multiple areas of data integration. So we have obviously the e-commerce platform is one. We have obviously an ERP or a PIM or a DAM, or we have all of these different areas where people are storing product. And then often we get into, and this will kind of flow into our next series on this, is what do we do with that data? And that's going to be kind of the 3-part series that we're focused on this component of the Hawk Nest series. Is going to be, how do we get the data in? What options do we have to help normalize those data? And then what do we do once it's in? What sort of capabilities can HawkSearch bring to really utilize all of that data that you've captured? So
yeah, if there's any one big thing that we know about our time working with all of these B2B companies is the data. It's the complex data that we're talking about there. Multiple different data sources, the need for real-time updates to that information, the need for there to be segmentation across that data. The concern is always about, we have this big pool of data. How do we get this into HawkSearch? How do we leverage that information? And so, Gavin, I think you've got some really good insights into kind of how this process works. And so we broke this down here on what we're going to be talking about today with these kind of 3 major concerns. So, Gavin, why don't we tackle concern number 1 here and dig into this topic?
Yeah, definitely. So, I kind of mentioned it briefly. So, one of the most common, probably the most common workflow or kind of scenarios that we run into is, it's an ERP, especially in the distribution space where they want some real-time pricing or anything like this, with customer logins and everything. So they have a lot of their data that lives in ERP, and then they're pushing it through to the e-commerce platform. So as HawkSearch is obviously platform agnostic. This allows us loads of options on how we kind of pull that data in. So in concern number 1, really, this is just, it's really just showing you the flexibility that we have within Hawk, right? So we have an e-commerce that we have our pre-built connectors for a lot of our major platforms. If we don't, we have our full API integration, and that's normally where we pull our true source from. When you start integrating, as we slide into kind of concern number 2, when you start integrating ERPs or PIMs, it really is where the customer wants to be maintaining that data. And we find in most of our larger distributors, the ERP is their true source, right? So, this then that kind of walks us into kind of option 2. Do they want us to index from the e-com platform and then have a secondary call going to an ERP for real-time data kind of updates or location inventories, or because we're dealing with multiple sites, multiple brick and mortars, multiple web stores. We have so many different kind of variations of how we want to integrate that component. And then next one on the concern 3 is really along the lines of, what workflow options do you have as a customer? How do you want your data to be pushed in? So again, one of the more common ones I've just kind of recently touched on is obviously ERP pushing into the e-commerce, but then you have other options there. You can have us pull from just the e-commerce, have a secondary call to an ERP for the inventory, or we're reaching out to, second and third options for, could be for content, for example, on a WordPress or something like that, where we have all these different areas that we want to pull from. And really what we're trying to get through today is just, it's often the stumbling block with a lot of people when they're maybe like, okay, we need to improve search. We've got all this data, but it's just not structured. And really the point of this conversation today is saying we can really help with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be all in one location for HawkSearch to really work and provide you kind of those search results and that growth and conversions and all that sort of fun industry stuff we talk about in search. But yeah, it just, you have so many options. And the point of today is just to really highlight, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself when looking at improving your data stack or your tech stack. HawkSearch can really help and improve that for you.
Yeah, I think the thing I'll kind of add on to that, because it's all great topics, they're great points, Gavin, is that we're not we don't come to the conversation with a prescriptive, like, this is what you need to do. Yeah. We are very accommodating to kind of what is that data structure? Is that inventory level very volatile? Are we needing like real-time inventory where it doesn't make sense for HawkSearch to necessarily store that, but we can still integrate with that information and present it back to the client without us needing to necessarily have that indexed on our side? Or does it make sense for us to store that information? We can work either way there, and really it's about kind of understanding at a holistic point of view. Let's look at kind of all of the different sources that this data can be coming from, and what makes sense for us to pull in, what makes sense for us just to present, what makes sense for us to, kind of how do we fit best in that situation to make sure that with these different concerns of data living across multiple organizations, data living in multiple sources, and how do we work, how do we handle that workflow? We don't want to disrupt the source of truth. HawkSearch doesn't become kind of the, oh, well, now if I update the price here, then I need to go update the price there. I need to go update the price here. We want to integrate kind of right into that point where you keep doing what you're doing. We want to pull that information and make kind of perform the best for you.
Yeah, and I think you said that really well, because that's the scariest part for a lot of people when you're looking at changing a tech stack. You've got a company-wide sort of approach to this. Like you've got your warehouse guys that pull from an ERP. You've got your sales guys that might pull from the e-commerce platform, and you don't really want to disrupt that flow at all. So, like we're kind of highlighting from a business use case, we can be really flexible on how we're taking your data and we're using your data to get you the best results.
And just understanding that this is something that we encounter day in and day out. Yeah, this is not like, oh wow, really, we're gonna have to integrate with multiple data sources. And then you even get into the documentation. This is another huge part of that B2B experience. Is it's not just necessarily product information that we're talking about here. Obviously, ERPs are definitely something that we commonly integrate, but maybe you've got a DAM that's got your specification sheets or your user guides or your spec sheets, whatever might need to be communicated as part of those results. Another really common thing that we do is take that information and say, okay, you're searching for this widget. Here's the widget that you can buy. Here's the spec sheet for that widget. Here's all the information that kind of goes along with that. It's one of the benefits of getting all of these different data sources into our system that can then return that back out to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I know that we these are always very quick here. We want to get you a little quick dose of information here. Gavin, I know we did want to give a little bit of a demonstration about how this works, but I want to make sure that if I'm giving you time here to wrap up any thoughts on these topics before we provide a real quick demonstration.
No. I think these are all very high level conversational points, and that's just the way we approach all of our potential new customers, even our current customers. Is we want to make sure we understand your workflow. We want to make sure we understand your business use case. And this is all kind of part of our initial discovery with you guys and how we want to integrate. And, we've got technical resources. We'll see, it's not, I wouldn't put this as a hurdle. It's just more of a discussion that we just need to understand, and we can work with you with it. So I think that the demo component of this will actually kind of really show it in real time and give somebody a really good idea of kind of what you can get to with Hawk.
Yeah, and kind of on that note here, you might notice down in the bottom right-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner of the screen there is a little QR code. Go ahead and scan that. That'll get you the ability to set up a demonstration like Gavin was just talking about there. This is all kind of the initial conversations that we have, get the brain thinking about what might be possible here. We'd love to have that kind of conversation with you. walk through these concerns, show you additional examples of how we solve for them, and really just kind of bring to the table our best practices and our knowledge to help you get this Gordian knot sorted out, basically.
Seriously, tangled extension cords.
Tangled, right? Exactly. But let's go ahead and show you an example of how we actually do this. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to showcase very quickly Kirby Risk. They are in the electrical supply industry. They have been using HawkSearch for a number of years, and they're a really great example of a client that is leveraging multiple different data sources to drive results here, coming from ERP, coming from an e-com system. And so in the HawkSearch world here, if I do just a search here, let's say I'm looking for some sensors, we'll go ahead and obviously drive kind of the full search results there. I'll hit enter. You'll notice that we're going to get this little loading box that pops up here, and the search results have been returned. The loading stayed up for a half second after that, and now we're getting back information like calling for pricing. We're getting inventory information in terms of, is this in stock at these different locations? What is the current pricing availability of these products? And so this is helping showcase an example of HawkSearch driving the search results for the search term that's being provided, but the inventory levels, the pricing information is coming from a secondary source of data, and we're able to integrate with that and drive the relevant results, while the more volatile real-time inventory, real-time pricing can still come from those ERP systems and can still be integrated into our search results.
Yeah, and Jonathan, maybe just to let the people kind of know who are watching, that loading zone, you can see that HawkSearch has returned the result behind it before that clears away. And just to kind of confirm what Jonathan's saying here is that loading zone is their secondary call.
Correct.
So we've pulled from their e-com platform, the search results have come back, and then we do have a secondary call, which is allowing them to provide that real, like, to the second up-to-date inventory. Yeah.
And to really just kind of drive this home, let's actually get a little bit further into this. Let's go back to that search for sensors. And again, you can see that, powered in the results, that loading stayed up that half second for that secondary call, like you're talking about, Gavin. Really great call out there. But let's talk about kind of the other issue of this is that, this information can be obviously from multiple different sources, not just of where the data lives, but also when we're talking about kind of warehouse inventory, brick and mortar stores, things like that. And so Kirby Risk is leveraging this. Store locations. And so Kirby Risk is doing this as well with their pickup branch location. So I can change this, say I'm looking for information from Fort Wayne, and you'll notice that our results now went from 5,000 down to 749, and we're also getting different pricing availability, in-stock pickup. All of that information is now accurate to this location because of that integration there. We return in the search results. That secondary call is made to say, hey, what is the current pricing? What is the current inventory? As well as HawkSearch understanding at the higher level, what is the actual product availability that is, just even able to be sold at this location using that information. So just a real quick example of kind of how we work with this, the multiple different data sources, multiple kind of inputs, and how we can power back in that information, even if it is coming from multiple locations that, might not live underneath the HawkSearch umbrella, still maintaining that kind of one source of truth, so you're not having to update information in several different locations, and that you can get to that kind of real-time information there.
And another really good bonus to this is your customer really doesn't know this either. Yep. So they're not going to really understand where you're pulling all these sources from, because the integration is pretty seamless, right? So they don't know really what's going on behind the closed door on this, but there's lots of calling and touch points, and to get them the most accurate data that they can get.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it just works for the customer. That's what you want. You don't want them to have to be thinking about, well, what's going on here? They get the accurate results, they get the accurate pricing, they get the accurate inventory. That leads to better bottom lines, obviously. The quicker, I should say, a customer, that's difficult for me to say, the quicker a customer can get to their accurate results. In this case here, it's placing that order now, we can be confident that this is something that is available at this location, that is this current price, that is something that can be sold from this location. So you're cutting out kind of that customer service aspect of them ordering something that you can't deliver from that location, or that is the wrong price, but it's not in stock. It's a big win for your customers to be able to be confident in their ability to order from you. And that's a differentiator from your competitors as well.
Big time. Yeah.
But that's I know we're already coming up here. We always
we are.
Always move so quick here. Let's talk about what's next here. Gavin, I know you've got you already kind of laid the groundwork for what this next trilogy of HawkNest is going to be, but let's talk about what is going to be on the next one, episode 5.
Yeah. So, like we were mentioning at the beginning of this. So, data quality is a big concern for a lot of people. And it often hinders, maybe that next step in their tech stack, which is maybe getting away from an out of the box, e-com search and looking to provide, some higher functionality on the search perspective. We have the conversations all the time is, well, we need to, revamp our data. We need to restructure our data. Our data's got holes in it. And this is not new to the search world, but HawkSearch has got some phenomenal tools, and we will be touching on this. And I hope you guys can kind of start seeing the workflow that we're kind of showing here is the integration into Hawk, and then what can we do with that data once it lives within Hawk. And we're going to show next week, we're going to touch on our concept search, which is our large language model. But what concept search does, and we'll touch on this next week, is it looks at relations. So it kind of starts getting away from the keyword, the attribute, where often we find a lot of holes in the data, and helps return results that way. And then we have our very unique tool, which is being a HawkSearch tool for a long time, which is our unit of measure conversion, which acts also as a data normalization. So really excited. So the workflow of this is obviously episode 1, which is today, is how do we get everything into HawkSearch? Episode 2 is once it's in and maybe the data is not the best, what tools do we have to help get those results you want? And then the third one, we're really going to focus in on, some of the advanced features that we can get into once we have your data in place. Yeah.
That's a good summary of what to expect. All the more encouragement for people to go ahead and sign up for a demonstration. Make sure that they're signing up for the follow-up Hawk Nest episodes 5 and 6.
5 and 6
shortly here. Gavin, as always, thank you for joining me here today. Wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Get everyone to scan that QR code, and we'll look forward to you at the next one.
Okay, chat soon, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.